we are pleased today to have joining us in our Phoenix Rising segment a young man who's new to the Valley, and he's going to talk about all kinds of integrative health. He's an integrative health specialist, and his name is John Robson. Welcome to the show, John.
Thank you for having me in.
Let's pull that microphone just right up to your face and enjoy that British accent.
Thank you.
You're obviously not from around here.
I'm not, no. I grew up in southeast England, which is in Kent, and then I lived in London for the past 7 years before moving out here.
And what brought you to the Roaring Fork Valley?
My partner, my girlfriend, she's here.
Yeah?
She grew up in Basalt and went to school in Aspen, so we were over here sharing it together.
Well, fantastic. Well, fill us in on what you're doing. I know you're having a special talk that you're giving at the Basalt Middle School, right?
Exactly.
You want to tell us about that first?
Yeah, so this evening on Wednesday, the 25th of January, between 6 and 8 p.m., I've got a free 2-hour talk on meta-medicine. And
on what's it called?
It's called meta-medicine.
Meta.
Yeah.
M-E-T-A.
Yeah,
yes?
meaning above or beyond medicine. It's an integrative health system, which has been developed around understanding that the mind and body are one system, rather than seeing them as very separate systems.
And you've been doing this in London for a while, or England somewhere?
Yes, I've been in the integrative health area for nearly 10 years now. And I've been specifically working with meta-medicine for the past 4.
Okay, and tell us how is that, what's the distinction between meta-medicine and what you were doing before?
Well, before I was more focusing on the body and looking at nutrition and health and exercise and movement. But the more and more I realized, it became really essential to understand the mind element, because as Sean will tell you, you can develop the best training program in the world, but if there are psychological aspects that are in the way of them getting the results they want, they just won't get them. Are we talking about somebody like Tiger Woods now, who was at the top of his game?
Certainly could be a very fine example.
Yes, exactly. That's a key example. Went through a massive stress and then lost his whole prowess.
Lost everything. Obviously lost everything, but I mean, lost the essential tigerness. The golf swing went, and then he tried to adjust it. Yeah, so it's interesting. So I can see how that mind-body thing really affects a performance athlete. Or what about the rest of us?
Yeah, it's the same way. Basically, since the scientific revolution, we began to separate the mind and body from spirit. And so we treated those very separately without much communication between the three of them. But as we've ventured forward in our science, we've realized that the mind really impacts the body, and stress has a major impact on our health and well-being. So every single one of us goes through stresses. You know, it's not only Tiger Woods that goes through a marriage breakup. Many of us go through these type of things like marriage breakups, breaking up from work, getting made redundant, and all of these type of issues. And every single one of those has a very specific impact on our physical body. So it's key elements for us to know. So if we're having a health issue, it's not just about looking after the body with tablets and drugs and exercise. It's also about looking at how do I correct the thought patterns which led to me having this issue.
Interesting.
I love it. And then we had talked a little bit, John, about where these things get stored in the body, and that was fascinating to me because I think I was introduced to Rolfing about a year ago, and that was the whole basis, was that your emotions are stored into your fascia, and so this really light kind of touching massage that doesn't really penetrate the muscle so much is actually releasing a lot of stored emotion from my childhood or these different things. And I actually cleared out a lot of stuff out of my closet through doing some Rolfing, and it was pretty amazing. And then to hear John talk about it more was like, wow, this is really a movement. This is coming through as our information age is coming around. People are starting to study this and understand it. It actually is working. We understand the body now more on a different level, that mind and body, and And it's great. I love talking about it at the gym, and then having you here, it's amazing. The other thing that I liked about John's resume here is I let him boast a little bit, but is it Kung Fu silver medalist, what is it?
Yeah, world silver medal in Kung Fu.
World silver medal in Kung Fu, and you got to have that mind-body connection there.
That is really a mental game.
It
right?
is. It is. Every single one of us trains pretty much as hard as one another. So when you're at the top level of a fitness game, it doesn't become about the body, because you're all fit guys and you're all strong, but it becomes about who's got that mental edge. And so you really have to delve in and understand exactly more how your mind is impacting your body. Because in a fight, if you get stressed, then you burn through your energy far quicker, and your breathing goes out of whack and everything, and then you end up tired, and it's whoever gasses first is the one who's bound to lose.
Wow.
So then you know, okay, I need to really get in control of my mind and my thoughts so that I'm present, so that I can be of optimal efficiency in this fight.
Sounds like pretty good advice for all of us.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And what other techniques do you use?
Well, breathing is one of the key elements. So meditation and breathing helps to bring balance. But it's basically anything that helps to balance the mind's perception. Most diseases within the body are either from an infatuation with something, which is an imbalanced perception, seeing more positives than negatives to that event, or a resentment, so seeing things more negatives to positives in an event.
Really? Okay, so I've never heard infatuation as something that would be a negative. It's kind of a negative, yes?
Well,
in this case?
Because usually if you're infatuating with another, then you're minimizing yourself relative to them. And so there's a lot of diseases which have self-devaluation conflicts, which impact the musculoskeletal system. So
that would be musculoskeletal in American English.
Yeah. That's good. Perfect.
I'm just trying to interpret.
No, that's good. That's good. And resentments as well. So if you perceive something as really negative, such as a breakup or it being made redundant from your job, and you class it as one of the worst things that ever happens to you in your life, then you hold a lot of stress in that, and it, like Sean says, you hold that in your body in many different areas, whether it be the digestive system or the fascial system. You hold it somewhere. So what I like to do is I find out from people what their specific diseases are, and then that gives me a lot of clues as to the types of stresses that they're going through, and then I help them to then balance their mind on those things. How we look at that is like, basically, if somebody sees something as just purely negative, it's like looking at a dollar and only seeing the head side or the tail side. You know, you're not seeing the whole coin at one time. So what I help people to do is just as a coin, you pick it up to look at both sides of it. So then you can own that. You can have that, and you can put that money in your pocket, and you could class that as your self-worth goes up in a way, if you like. But so if somebody's perceiving something as really negative, then I just go in there and I ask them, how did that serve you? What was the benefits to you of that thing happening? Good
question. You know, because I think some things serve us in a negative way, and we actually hang on to it. Mm-hmm. How is that serving? Because it's an excuse for you, or it's you would prefer. It's easier not to confront the person and get rid of the resentment. You just hang in that bad space.
That's right. And then it's always weird. It's always negative. It never goes away until you deal with your stuff. It's going to be there and lurking always. That's my experience.
Here's
anyway.
what I can't. Sean, you got to know. Sean Hensberger is one of the most positive. He's in his wheel well 22 hours of the day. When he's even when he's sleeping, he's just a guy that's got tons of integrity, and is whole. So I can't believe that you had this experience that you went through this roughing and stuff, and you realized there were some things.
Right. Well, and there's a lot of things. There's a lot of these things that went through as a child or as a kid, and be it from high school or be it issues when I was really young that I can barely even remember. I mean, these things, like they come out, and you realize that I realize that they have made me who I am, negative or positive, and it's not a bad thing, because I kind of like who I am,
right.
You know, regardless of what other people think. I like me. I'm cool with that. And so if I were to resent somebody who had put me through something, or I was going to hold on to something, or I was going to judge them, or have some kind of attachment to I know a lot of people are going through financial stuff right now. So if you have an attachment to your home, let go. Because you know what? It's time to move on. It is what it is. You use it as a stepping stone to grow and move on to the next level. And that's how I have used it, and that's how it's helped me. So I'm going to be there. I'm going to this the Meta Medicine conference with John, and to learn more and explore it, because my level of training just over the last few years has really come up after a nice little lull that I had, and I got rid of some of this emotional baggage, and all of a sudden I'm like, wow, I'm getting really strong again. This is amazing. And I'm eating the same foods, and I'm working out the same that I used to, and that's where John's expertise is starting to come in. These are all connected, very, very integral.
I love that he says the body is our greatest teacher. It communicates in a very specific language. Most have just forgotten what the communication means. It's always showing us where, when, and how our thoughts have become unbalanced. That's awesome. So how do we know what it's saying?
Exactly. The body doesn't lie. And so it is always telling us, it is always communicating to us where we've imbalanced our thoughts and perceptions. So it's a little hard to go over it, right now in this small amount of time, exactly the different language of the different symptoms. But that's what the 2-hour talk is about, is to introduce further what exactly it's saying, because different organs have different emotional states. So if it's a lot of anger, then you could be looking at the large intestine and the colon, and so different organs have very different emotional states. So what I help people to do is just to learn that language again. It's the same as learning any other language. At first you have to learn the alphabet, and then you have to learn how to structure it and put it together. And so through meta medicine, it's a perfect system for teaching you what the language is, so you can connect with your body once again.
And then the trick is to listen.
To listen, for sure.
Yeah?
Yeah, once we listen, a lot in the Eastern world, then if they get sick and these things, they know they need to rest. So they go through rest. But in the Western world, we're so busy that we've just forgotten to listen, and we've forgotten to pay attention. And eventually it will get to a point where our body shouts. It goes from a whisper to a bit of a shout, and so we have to pay attention.
That's a great description. Well, John, thank you for being here today. And tell us quickly, where will you be?
Thank you very much for having me. So this evening, Wednesday, the 25th of January, between 6 and 8 p.m., we will be at the Besant Middle School, and it's room 100.
Okay, John Robson, thank you so much for this great information. And stay tuned, everybody. Our Today's Phoenix is next, and he's an X-Game athlete. Very cool. Stay there.